Ships are gigantic in size. One ship can carry thousands of people and tons of load at a time. They are made up of steel and other heavy metals. Despite carrying all those weights, they don't sink and are very stable. This is because of the miracle of Archimedes' principle. But what does it actually mean? Let's take a look at the simple example. This plastic container is filled up with air. Air has negligible density and this container has negligible weight. So it clearly floats in water almost totally. You can see that there is no rise in water level. Now I've filled half of this container with water. I've colored the water so that we can see what's happening. Now you can guess how much of the container sinks in water. The water inside the container levels with the water outside the container. This is not surprising. But the thing that you must understand in this is that the weight of the water inside the container is equal to the weight of the water that gets raised outside the container after placing it. The amount of water that gets raised outside the container after placing it is known as displaced water. I'm going to mark the rise in water level as W. Other things that you must understand are the forces involved on the container. When the container is up in the air, gravitational force acts vertically down on it. When it enters the water level, there is upthrust that acts on the container. As the container submerges more and more, displaced water rises more and more. So the upthrust force on the container increases with the rise in water level. Now at this point, the water inside the container levels with the water outside the container. Here, the gravitational force acting on the container or the weight of the container is equal to the weight of the displaced water, which is equal to the upthrust. So the forces cancel each other out and the net force becomes zero. The container now is in equilibrium state and rests at this point. Now let's test this with substances with different densities. Sand is denser than water. Let's fill this container half with sand. What happens if I place the container in the water? The level of sand does not level with the water outside the container. It submerges the container much lower into the water. Here the volume of displaced water is more than the previous example. I've marked the new water level as S. At this point, the weight of the displaced water is equal to the weight of sand. So the gravitational force and upthrust cancel each other out at this point and the container rests. Similarly, if we fill the container with less dense material like petrol and place it in the water, the level of petrol in the container becomes more than the water level. This is because the weight of petrol becomes equal to the weight of displaced water at this point. So the conclusion from these experiments is that the container comes to equilibrium state and rests at those points where the weight of the substance in the container becomes equal to the weight of displaced water. This is Archimedes' principle. Now if we talk about ships, even if they are made up of heavy metals and are carrying a lot of weight, there are hollow spaces inside them. The free spaces inside those ships take most of the volume of those ships. So the overall density of the ship becomes lesser than that of the water. The amount of water that a ship displaces has weight equal to the weight of the whole ship. So like in our examples, upthrust becomes equal to the gravity on the ship and they cancel each other out. For stability, most of the weight in the ship remains on the bottom of the ship, just like this glass. So the center of mass of the ship remains much lower and the ship becomes stable. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you learned something from this video. Bye bye and see you in the next video.